Facebook is cracking down on social media accounts linked to the QAnon movement. It's classified the pro-Trump conspiracy theory group as dangerous. Now, instead of relying on user reports, Facebook will automatically seek and delete all pages, groups, and accounts from its platforms. And that's even if they don't violate the company's policies against inciting violence or hate speech. The move comes as Facebook tries to combat the spread of misinformation ahead of the US election. Now, it's already begun purging hundreds of QAnon groups for promoting violence. The QAnon movement took root in 2017. It's driven by an anonymous poster nicknamed Q, who claims to be a Trump administration insider. Among its many unsubstantiated claims, it says Donald Trump is leading a crackdown against an enormous pedophile ring that includes prominent Democrats and the Hollywood elite. The coronavirus pandemic has fueled the rise of QAnon conspiracy theories online, and some claim that President Trump has faked his COVID-19 diagnosis to orchestrate secret arrests. Others say the coronavirus itself is a large conspiracy to vaccinate people. The FBI has classified the group as a potential source of domestic terrorism, but Mr. Trump has praised the group as patriotic. And for a closer look, let's speak to Dr. Nasir Baffin from La Trobe University. Thank you very much, Dr. Nasir, for joining us. So, this is a big step for Facebook to curb dangerous content, but why only now, since the group has been around since 2017?
I think that Facebook are definitely, they've been burned in the past. And as you say, this particular crackdown by Facebook comes a mere matter of weeks ahead of the US election. And you'll recall that the last US election, Facebook certainly suffered, maybe not through its market valuation or its share price, but it certainly suffered in the public eye in terms of its reputation. So it suffered with its questionable use of harvesting of user data, but also through the spread of disinformation. So the use of what were later discovered to be Russian bots to influence public discussion. So it's trying to appear not behind the eight ball in this instance. And it's certainly not the first time it's tried to crack down on QAnon, but it certainly seems to be the strongest measure so far. So in August, what they did was try to clamp down and remove QAnon sympathetic content and posts as long as they were advocating violence. So now, as you say, it's just a blanket, a blanket removal of all of those posts. I really think it wants to be seen as wanting to try to regain some of the public trust that it has lost in the past, given its leniency, I guess, towards misinformation and fake news.
Now, the US election is just a few weeks away, as you alluded to. Could this move be a bit too late?
I think that's a really, really good question. We know that it's following in the steps of another major social media company in Twitter, and so the tentacles of the QAnon movement and the rhetoric have spread almost beyond Facebook. So Facebook is obviously one of the most popular social media, networks in the world, and it's one of the most mainstream. And so the sort of rhetoric that we saw from this conspiracy movement used to be part of quite fringe presences on the internet. And I think history will not judge Facebook very kindly for allowing that sort of rhetoric to go into the mainstream. And we're seeing, people having arguments with their family members over some of the stuff that's been put out. I definitely agree with your assertion that it is probably a little bit too late to be seen to be clamping down on this sort of thing.